Most of us don't lose because we lack discipline. We lose simply because we never begin. Some things take only 2 minutes. An email you could answer immediately, yet you leave it for an entire week. A page you could read right now, yet you postpone it for a whole month. An exercise so simple that you dismiss it as pointless, and then you let it go. We tell ourselves these small things don't matter, but the truth is quieter and colder. Life doesn't collapse from big failures. It collapses from the 2-minute moments we repeatedly refuse. The tiny moments we underestimate are exactly where the mind starts to lose its strength. And this leads us to a deeper question. Why do such small moments carry such weight? To understand that, we have to look at how the mind actually responds to change. We often think that change must come from a major overhaul. 30 minutes of exercise, an hour of study, 20 pages of reading. But the mind doesn't work that way. The bigger a task becomes, the more it looks like a mountain. The longer it seems, the more it awakens our instinct to resist. What surprises many people is this. We don't need a surge of inspiration to change. We only need a very small entry point, so small that the mind can't find a reason to delay it. That is the essence of behavior design, lowering cognitive resistance to its minimum, breaking the mental friction that stops us from starting, and opening the door to change through tiny entry points. Just 2 minutes. No noise, no pressure. 2 minutes are enough to break the resistance, and enough to remind us that change doesn't need to be grand to be genuinely meaningful. And once we see this, the next step becomes clear. We must learn to dissolve procrastination at its smallest form. There are moments when we stand in front of a task so small, so insignificant, it feels almost invisible. And yet, we hesitate. The mind enlarges it, making it look heavier than it truly is. And we postpone it, even though just a few breaths would have been enough to finish it. That is why 2 minutes hold such unusual power. They work like a small dose of anesthesia for procrastination, making the task lighter, simpler, no longer big enough for the mind to resist. David Allen, in his productivity system, stated it clearly. If it takes 2 minutes, do it now. A simple principle, but one that has helped millions break the silent delays woven into modern work. In daily life, these examples are everywhere. A quick call that takes only 2 minutes, an email that needs just 2 minutes to reply, a meeting note that can be completed in 2 minutes. These tiny actions, when done immediately, free up hours later on. The key tool in this chapter is friction drop check, a way to question the true nature of a task. How long does this actually take? And the practice begins with one tiny moment. Before each task, pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, if this can be finished in 2 minutes, can I just do it now? Most of the time, the answer is yes. And that simple yes is the moment when the ice of procrastination finally begins to crack. And once the ice cracks, the mind is finally ready for something deeper, the building of real habits. 2 minutes. It sounds far too small to build a habit. But habits are not formed through grand efforts. They are shaped by tiny signals, repeated long enough until they become part of who you are. James Clear once gave a beautifully simple example. Read just 1 page a day, and over time you will build a reading system strong enough to turn thousands of pages into something natural. In everyday life, 2-minute versions of habits are always within reach. 2 minutes of movement, 10 squats and 10 push-ups. 2 minutes of language learning, 5 new words each morning. 2 minutes of reading, a short paragraph, before you even touch your phone. There is nothing flashy here, just small steps, but steady ones. The key tool in this stage is entry point habit, shaping the habit you desire into a version so small that doing it feels easier than refusing it. The way to apply it is always clear. Choose a habit you want to build, shrink it down to its 2-minute version, and do it at the same time every day. You're not trying to change yourself. You're simply opening a small door and letting change walk in. And once the door opens, something else becomes possible. The ability to anchor your entire day with just 2 minutes. There are mornings when we step into the day slightly off balance. The mind loose, priorities blurred, and a feeling that we're being pulled forward before we've even had the chance to stand firmly. But sometimes, just 2 minutes is all it takes to regain stability. 2 minutes can create a state shift, a small psychological transition, subtle yet powerful enough to change the way you enter your workday. Tim Ferriss once spoke about his own 2-minute ritual, a slow, steady cycle of box breathing, resetting the clutter inside his head, like wiping a foggy screen clean before beginning something important. In everyday life, this can be even simpler. Before diving into a busy day, pause for exactly 2 minutes and write down a single line. What is the most important thing today? You don't need more than that. Just one sentence, enough to give your mind an anchor point. The tool in this chapter carries a simple name, Morning Anchor, a small weight that keeps you from drifting in the middle of chaos. And the method is even simpler. In the first 2 minutes of your morning, ask yourself one question. What are the 5 most important things I need to do today? When the right question appears at the right moment, your entire day stands more firmly, as if an invisible hand quietly places everything back into its proper place. And once your day is anchored, you can finally see something else clearly. Overwhelm often comes from tiny clogs, not large burdens. In our work, we often assume that overwhelm comes from big projects, major responsibilities, long-term goals. But in reality, the heaviest weight doesn't come from there. Overwhelm is usually born from tiny blockages, tasks so small that we keep pushing them aside. They accumulate quietly and eventually turn into a suffocating pressure we can't quite explain. In Silicon Valley, many teams practice something interesting. Before every meeting, they spend exactly 2 minutes doing micro-clearings, a small task handled immediately to prevent backlog from building up and slowing the entire system down. In everyday office life, this shows up very clearly. Confirming a meeting, just 2 minutes. Sending a missing document, another 2 minutes. Clearing your desktop or closing unnecessary tabs, still only 2 minutes. These small actions, when done right away, work like unclogging a blocked pipe. The flow of work returns instantly. The tool for this chapter is called 2-Minute Unclog, a reminder that before diving into something big, handle one tiny 2-minute task to create momentum for the rest of your day. The application is simple. Before moving on to an important task, pick one 2-minute action and do it immediately. Not because it's significant, but because it makes everything else feel lighter. And it was exactly this principle that revealed itself to me one ordinary morning. I remember one very ordinary morning. On my desk was a list of tasks, all small, simple things. Yet I kept avoiding them. None of them were difficult, but every time I looked at the list, I sighed and told myself, later. That day I tried something different. I chose one task I could finish in 2 minutes and spent those 2 minutes doing it. When I finished, I picked another, and then another. 15 minutes passed, and suddenly I realized the difficulty was never in the task itself. It was in the feeling of postponing, that vague pull that makes you step back, even though just a few breaths would have been enough to complete it. 2 minutes didn't change my life instantly, but it opened a small door. And through that door, I stepped into the rest of the day with a completely different state of mind. And in that moment, the final truth became clear. In the end, the most important truth is also the simplest. Change doesn't require you to be stronger. It only asks you to begin smaller. A 2-minute action may not shake your entire life, but it opens a door to bigger changes, more sustainable ones, the kind that truly become yours. If you want to explore more about easing those mental frictions, the next video will show you how to design your environment so you can begin anything in the lightest, most effortless way.